tourism and sport, the need for the Road Safety Authority to compile and monitor statistics on the operation of the penalty point system, especially with regard to drink driving and dangerous driving. Deputy, you have 4 minutes.
Thanks, Cathaoirleach, and I'd like to thank Minister English for coming in to take the debate. I understand Minister Donoghue is in Brussels. You last took a similar debate, I think, on the 22nd of October, and you told me then, I've no doubt, this in relation to questions I raised for the Minister, that he will address the issue the Deputy raised there because it's not in his nature not to do so. But unfortunately, Minister Donoghue, he hasn't given me any of the replies to the key questions I asked you that day. I requested, for example, that he clarify whether it's the case that there is no requirement in legislation for the court service to record the licence of a disqualified driver. I asked also for clarification regarding the breathalyser printouts, whether they had to be in both English and Irish. Mr Donoghue told me early this year that there was no additional legislation was necessary in relation to the printouts, in relation to that issue. And of course, yesterday, Minister, I asked on Taoiseach to ensure that the new road safety bill about drug driving and mutual recognition with Northern Ireland, that would be passed before this all ends. But along with my colleagues in the outstanding and sterling civil society group, the Park Road Safety Group, led by Ms Susan Gray, we kind of continue to trudge through half answers and fob-offs and long-awaited replies from both Ministers Fitzgerald and T.D and Donoghue. The tardiness of both Ministers is the nub of the debate here today, namely the urgent need for the Minister to direct the Road Safety Authority itself to compile, monitor and consequently update statistics relating to the implementation and follow-up of penalty point offences and disqualifications, and in particular to those relating to drink driving and dangerous driving. Earlier in the summer, through figures supplied to me by the Minister for Justice, we discovered that of the 20,830 drink driving cases listed before district courts nationally between January 2013 and May 2015, just 8,391, or 40% of the listed cases, received a conviction. That's completed cases. Now, the court service quickly challenged the figure, saying that the actual overall conviction rates were in the high 80%. But how can we verify this disinformation, Minister? The Can Corla disallowed a number of parliamentary questions where I asked for the number of cases and reasons for strikeout per district court of the 20,830 drink driving cases between January 2013 and May 2015, the number of cases and reasons for adjournment in the same parameters per district court, the number of cases withdrawn in the same parameters per district court, and the number of cases and reasons for non-completion and those continuing in the same parameters per district court. So all the information we just don't have in this House, and I'm still awaiting a reply to my parliamentary question, which was finally accepted on the overall breakdown, Cathaoirleach, of the above issues. But without the information, the general public and the Oireachtas, we can't form a view, Minister, on the efficacy or the implementation of our traffic laws. More worryingly, of course, is that of the 8,391 persons convicted in the years 2013 to early 2015, a mere 1,647, or 20%, had their licence details recorded in court. And under Section 22 of the Road Traffic Act 2002, persons summoned to court for a road traffic offence are legally obliged to produce a driving licence, as Minister O'Donoghue said in a recent reply, in all cases. However, implementing the legislation, he said to me, was a matter for the courts, and the bringing of prosecutions for non-production of licences is a matter, he said, for Garda Síochána. Yet we've seen in a recent ruling, Cathaoirleach, by Judge Maria Keane, that the court couldn't convict persons summoned for non-production of their licences, as the consequences and penalties for the non-production hadn't been stated in the actual summons. But however, I'm informed that it's the Garda Síochána who are responsible for the wording of summonses. So we have a situation currently where approximately 125 such cases were thrown out last month, apparently due to this technicality on summons which were in fact created in the first instance by the Gardaí. And I understand the DPP has appealed Judge Keane's ruling. So what we have here, Cathaoirleach, in conclusion, is clear evidence time and again of a dysfunctional system, particularly the system of reporting. While our road safety legislation is fairly robust, we've done a lot of work in the House, the departments have done a lot of work, the application and implementation of the laws is where we badly need improvement. So surely it's now time for the Road Safety Authority to liaise very closely with the court service, with Garda Síochána, all the computer systems of the three organisations, to monitor, evaluate and report precisely to us on how all road traffic offences are disposed of through the courts, and therefore we can then work, Cathaoirleach, on what gaps remain to be dealt with. Thanks, Cathaoirleach.
Thank you, Deputy Broughan. Minister to reply.
Here again, I want to thank Deputy for raising the issue, and I've seen your name down again, so I hope that stuff was answered from the last day. So I'll track it up for you and see, because there was a commitment there to get that information for you, so I'll track that as best I can for you. As you know, Minister Donoghue is in Brussels at the Transport Council today, so he sends his apologies, and that's why I'm in for him instead. The fixed charge notice and penalty point system has in general operated extremely well since its introduction in 2002 and has enjoyed wide public support. This is evidenced by the fact that over 80% of those who received a fixed charge notice paid a specified amount within the prescribed periods. The system plays a very important role in enhancing road safety. The system of penalty points was first introduced in the Traffic Act 2002. The main goal of the system is not to penalise people, but to make them more aware of unsafe driving behaviour, to influence and improve driver behaviour, and to reduce the level of deaths and serious injuries on our Irish roads. The key to reducing injuries and fatalities on our roads is to continue to change driver behaviour. To date this year, 10th of December, 147 fatalities have been recorded. While the number of fatalities is down 33 in this date last year, a lot of work remains to be done to further reduce the number of fatalities on our roads, and we can all play our part in achieving this aim. The role of the Road Safety Authority, the RSA, in relation to the production of road safety information statistics is enshrined in the Road Safety Act 2006. Road Safety Authority Act 2006. The Research Department of the RSA is responsible for the production of road safety information and statistics. The role of the Research Department is to collect collision statistics and to publish reports to understand how, when, where and why collisions happen, in order to prevent them reoccurring. Also to promote and participate in multidisciplinary research projects at national and EU level to inform road safety policy and road safety communications, and ultimately to reduce collisions. Statistics in relation to penalty points by offence, including those relating to drink driving and dangerous driving, are readily available on the RSA website. The RSA published a breakdown of drivers by the number of penalty points, a breakdown of drivers by number of penalty points and county, and the number of drivers issued with fixed charge notices for penalty points offences, broken down by offence and by county. The RSA published these statistics on a monthly basis. The Deputy will appreciate that statistics should always be interpreted with caution. It should be noted, for example, that points data, broken down by county, does not correspond to where the original road traffic offence actually took place. The points data just states where the driver is domiciled. Therefore, it is not possible to definitely link the points awarded to a specific county as having been incurred whilst committing an offence in that county. A driver may have been detected committing an offence in Dublin, for example, but because the address in their licence is in Kildare, the licensing authority that originally issued the licence, the points will be attributed to County Kildare. The Department of Transport currently provides analysis, reports on penalty points and offences on a monthly basis to the RSA. All stats in relation to drink driving and dangerous driving, including the surrender of driving licences, are currently provided on a request-only basis to the RSA. But the Department is currently working with the RSA with a view to extending the monthly reports to include statistics in relation to all court endorsements, including convictions and disqualifications for drink driving and dangerous driving. I am pleased to inform you that it is envisaged that this will be automated and operational in the new year, and we will ask that the RSA publishes this information on a monthly basis on its website. Targeting road user behaviour through education, engineering and enforcement, known as, to yourself, Deputy, and many others as the 3 E's, have been the cornerstones of our improved road safety record to date. I am satisfied that our current road safety strategy, continued enforcement of existing road traffic legislation by Garda Síochána, together with the forthcoming legislation, which will focus on strengthening the law in relation to drug driving, among other issues, will allow Ireland to maintain progress in reducing fatalities and serious injuries on our roads. As road users, we should never underestimate the power we have to help save lives and to reduce injuries on our roads. Changing driver behaviour for the better, whether it is to reduce speed, to turn off our mobile phones or to leave our car keys at home when we're heading out for the night over this festive period, can have a life-saving impact on our safety and the safety of others. We can all play our part in making this festive period one of the safest on record.
Thank you, Minister.
Thanks.
Deputy, you have 2 minutes for a supplement.
Thanks, Cathaoirleach. Well, of course, the key point, as you mentioned, I think, is that we still have a very tragic figure for the number of fatalities on our roads this year, 147. It may be lower than recent years, but it's still an enormous amount of damage has been done, besides the fatalities themselves, to the families and connections of each and every one of those people. And we just don't have the statistical base, I think, to be able to measure the implementation of our laws. For example, one shocking statistic, which I'm still awaiting further clarification, is that 521 drivers were already disqualified between January 2013 and March 2015 at the time of conviction for for involvement in a collision causing serious injury or death. And that's something I'm still trying to get clarification on. And you refer here to the RSA and the relationship between the RSA and the department, including the surrender of driving licence. You said they're currently provided on request-only basis to the RSA, but the department is currently working on with the RSA with a view to extend this monthly report to include statistics. But the statistics that the department is working to move towards with the RSA or to collate with the RSA are the very statistics that we want. And I have a whole plethora of questions in with Ministers Donoghue and Fitzgerald in relation to the numbers of learner drivers paying their fixed charge notices, information on the DPP's appeals against Judge Maria Keane's rulings, which I mentioned earlier, the number of speeding offences and convictions, the number of drivers disqualified for drink driving or dangerous driving, a fixed notice for drivers parking in cycle lanes, disqualification per district court breakdown, and so on. And that's all information that isn't to hand and doesn't appear in the statistics to which you refer. And then we have, I know Minister Donoghue told me that from January 2013 a disqualified driver is required to post their driving licence to the RSA and the National Driver Licence Service in Cork City. But I'm informed that 96% of those disqualified simply don't do this. And Minister Donoghue told Miss Susan Gray of Park, he told her on prime time there about a year ago that if he felt the postal system wasn't working, he'd take action and bring in legislation. Here we are over a year later and nothing has happened. Now, as I said, the nub of the debate here tonight is that the RSA, I think, would be up to date on every conceivable aspect of stats relating to road traffic offences, and that we wouldn't have to do this trawling, searching, relentless kind of searching through court service and court service records and so on. And I think that's what we want, and that's what should be an ambition, certainly not for this outgoing government, for the new government. I noticed one last point here, like the RSA, they recently announced proposals to perhaps introduce graduated fines for road traffic offences based on perhaps on a person's ultimately on their income. But it kind of seems almost a ludicrous proposal, because if the current system is not being implemented in a way that's satisfactory to this House and in a very clearly transparent way with up-to-date statistics, why would we introduce a much more complex system effectively, and effectively also introduce a sort of a double standard for people of different levels of wealth? It just doesn't make any sense. What we need is to have the current legislation which we pass in this House implemented fairly and squarely for every single citizen, and that we know the facts and the stats. Thanks, Catherlock.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, for concluding remarks.
Again, Deputy, you have a lot of facts and stats that yourself as well, I think, are very useful, and I wouldn't have the same information that you have there, because it's a subject I know that you're concentrating on quite a lot, and rightly so. I think the department some of what you want, the department will share some of your aims, and they're trying to improve that information flow between themselves and the RSA. And it's probably a matter of applying more urgency to that as well, because I think you're right. The more information we've gathered, the more it can inform our thinking and our policies and lawmaking as well. But the main thing here is that we continue to try to drive down the number of fatalities. You're absolutely right. One is far too many. And to have 147, regardless of it coming down or up or down, is still far, far too many. And it's on all of us to try to do that. And I think you're right, stats and facts help focus our minds on that, help get the message out to people out there as well. Because I do, when I'm on the roads, and if you park up for 10 minutes and watch, you often wonder how we don't even have more. Because there's so much improvement we can have when it comes to driving on the roads. And it's onus is on all of us. There's none of us are probably innocent when it comes to, driving absolutely 100% perfectly. And it's about engineering, it's about education, but it's also about attitude. And I said it here before as well. Our attitude, and that comes in my own Department of Education, is something we're trying to work on as well. I'm hoping that with the junior cycle reform, there'll be opportunities there to bring in new little initiatives around that as well, and new programmes of actually educating young people and people, coming through the system in second level school about the importance of having the right attitude when it comes to driving a vehicle, being aware of what's around them, thinking like an engineer, but to understand what it's like to drive a bus if you're a cyclist, and vice versa. And that's the kind of understanding we have to get to. We all have a role in that as well. So I'll certainly, I'll take it from what you're saying from my own Department of Education, and I'll feed back again your issues raised to the Department of Transport as well on behalf of Haskell. So thanks for your time here today as well. Minister and